My name is Ruth Gado Coleman, and just a little background on who I am. I was born in Nigeria, West Africa, lived in Nigeria for about 10 years, came to the States when I was about 10 years old, and I've been living in the States since then. I actually got saved at a very young age. I just remember just wanting to learn more about Christ. And we lived in the northern part of Nigeria where it's mainly persecuted Christians. So your faith really had to be genuine. You couldn't just, just not take it seriously because you could lose your life. So that was kind of the environment we grew up in. My parents just wanted to make sure that we understood the scriptures. I even remember the first time I could read, my dad made me read the book of Ruth. And I remember just being so upset. And he was like, you can't go out and play till you read it. And looking back at it so many years, I'm just so blessed that that was just something that was an integral part of our lives.
What inspires you to sing and write songs?
I love singing. I've loved it ever since I was a kid. I was involved in it in middle school. In church, I was active in praise and worship. And I always wondered where I got my, music skills, if that's what you call it. My dad actually said my grandmother used to write hymns for the village. And so that was just something I never knew that she actually did. But music have always been a part of me. But I didn't really start writing towards the end of my senior year when I got into a really bad accident. I went on a mission trip to England and came back, was suffering from jet lag, and I fell asleep on the road and my car flipped 3 times and it was a really bad accident. And I remember just thinking that I should have died and just being so scared. And I remember singing and on the mission trips, we did open air evangelisms, we sang, we did all this, did things with youth groups. And I just remember in the midst of that saying, God, if that's something that I can do for the rest of my life, that's something that it would be an honor to do, because I just saw how much of an impact we were able to make. And during, in college, I sang a lot, was involved in the coffee shops, did writing, but I didn't really get serious until fast forward almost 10 years. I went through several traumatic events, and I ended up essentially being bedridden and being in the house. And I just remember how lonely that was and how much of a struggle it was. And what brought me peace was just writing, and all of a sudden I just started writing and realized that in my trials, I always looked for someone or something to kind of give me encouragement. And the good thing that I can say that's come out of it is, and I'm still in it because I still suffer with a chronic illness. And I don't know if, I'd ever get healed, but I realized that if I can minister to someone, and encourage them through their trials, that I would be able to, that everything that I've been through has a meaning. And so that's kind of the thing that pushed me to do it, was to be an encouragement to the body, to help those that are suffering. And I think it's a Corinthians passage where it says, the God that comforts us gives us the comfort so that we can comfort others with the comfort that He's given us. And I remember just how that passage spoke to me. And there's something my dad always says. My dad has these crazy euphemisms. And he said, with God, nothing is ever a waste. He is the only one that's able to turn what is evil to good. He's the only one that reconciles sinful man to Himself. And ultimately, we are part of this grand story, which is showcasing the glory of Christ in every area of our life.
Talk about a few songs on the album and the general theme.
I'll start off with Fall, which I did the music video for and spent my behind freezing. I wrote that song as a way to actually encourage myself, because I remember in all the trials that I've been in and still am in, I just remember just fighting with the Lord and fighting with everybody, not really surrendering the circumstance to the Lord. And I wrote it in the middle of the night, couldn't go to sleep, and I just remembered, I realized that if I was ever gonna get out of the scene, I had two options: either surrender to the Lord and fix my eyes on Him, or I could just surrender to whatever it is that I felt made me happy. And I realized the key in the beautiful thing about Christ is He came for those that are sick. And so the very same things that the world looks at and says, you're not worthy, either if you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, or you're not gifted enough, or whatever, if you're not able to produce anything, those are the things that God wants us to bring to Him, because it means that we have to totally depend on Him. And that's what that song meant. Falling denotes, something negative, but with Christ, you're falling into love, you're falling into grace, you're falling into knowing that Christ is enough, and that's all that matters. My prayer is that whoever listens to these songs is encouraged. They see their humanity, but they also see a great God who saves us from ourselves, saves us from the evil one, saves us from everything. And so that's really what my prayer is, that if it encourages someone, that's all that matters. I just want to be obedient and then leave the rest to Him.
You